everyone, welcome to another Top 100 episode. This time we are rounding off the bottom half of the list, my 60 to 51. I've already gone over 40 games, possibly even some more along the way, and I've enjoyed every single one that I've listed. You know, these are my 100 favourite games, and it's not like it's 1 to 100 and then I hate every game after that. You know, there was at least a good few hundred games that had to be culled down to this 100, and you know, this final 100 was culled from a list of 150. You know, to get this, it's hard to choose these games. They are ones that I love. These are ones that I want to play as often as possible. I wish I could play some of them more than they currently are, but you know, that's the way of the world. Sometimes you just can't get all your games to the table as well as review everything, so it kind of takes it out of you. But I love talking about these, so we're gonna cut off the bottom half of the top 100 on this episode, and then we'll get into the even more juicy stuff later. So let's see what games just missed the top half of my top 100. For my number 60, we are joining the Legendary series again. Remember when I talked about Firefly, I said that I split these up because I felt that they were different enough from each other? Well, this is another Legendary game. Will all 4, 5, 6, however many there have been actually, there's been quite a few, but will they all make this list? You'll have to wait and see. But for now, we are going to continue with a heavy box, because they're all heavy. Although there's two reasons why this one's heavy, and that is, I'll try and do it, there we go. Legendary Encounters Predator makes my number 60. Now, this is heavy for two reasons. One, there's a lot of cards, as always. Secondly, remember I said that I didn't have a box for Firefly? Well, here's its current home. There's so few cards in the Firefly game that the box is just pointless to have on the shelf, and so, you know, as much as I like the artwork on that thing, unless they release any extra cards for it, I'm just going to keep it in this one because there was some spare room. You know, and I didn't want to sleeve Firefly Legendary anyway, so it just fit in quite snugly. But this one, Legendary Encounters Predator. So why do I have this one split out? Well, yes, the co-op element is similar to the other Encounter Legendary games. You know, you have the hidden hive, and, well, not hive, the hidden sort of complex area, in this case the woods or the city, and cards will come out face down. You have to reveal them, and they will be a mix of mercenaries and different predators, you know, young bloods, boss predators, you know, the real hard nuts. And you are taking control of 2 movies worth of characters, both Predator 1 and 2. So you get all those cool iconic gorilla dudes from the first one, the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, including Arnie himself. And the second one, you get to control the various cops and journalists and etc. from the Predator 2, was it Los Angeles they were in? I can't remember, but they were in a city anyway. And, you know, I enjoy both movies. Obviously, you cannot beat the first Predator. I don't think there's anybody out there who claims there's a better Predator movie than the first one. If so, why? But anyway, but I get a kick out of the co-op element of this. But I also get a kick out of the PvP element, where you are predators trying to basically fight competitively in order to gain the most honor. That works very well as its own unique deck building game away from this one, because you use similar rules. You know, you collect cards and you make your deck better, but you're encountering traps, you're actually going up against the good guys in order to get honor. You can fight each other, you know, you can take pot shots and that. It's quite a cool game in that of itself. So even if you took the co-op element of this out, I'd still enjoy the PvP part, but to have both in here makes for a very enjoyable game, and I love the Predator franchise as well. So definitely hits my number 60. My number 59 is a very long game, but it's not a Euro game. At least I don't call it a Euro game. This can take over 3 hours to play, and that's another refute, you know, to say I don't always have to play a short game. I'm not as bad as Z Garcia, where anything over 90 minutes is too long. I just want to be engaged all the time if I'm playing a long game. This one is a perfect example of one where, despite taking more than 3 hours, I am engaged every minute of the game. There is so little downtime in New Angeles. New Angeles is a relatively new game. I think it only came out earlier this year, and it is basically straight up negotiation. You play one of the corporations from the Netrunner universe, Jinteki, Wayland, that kind of thing, and you basically negotiate with each other to try and keep the city afloat, because the city's going through all sorts of bad stuff, and you are trying to keep the city under wraps whilst also profiting from it. You've got hidden cards for your mission goal, which is to have more capital, money, than another rival. But then there's also a liberalist, I think, but basically a traitor amongst you all who wants the city to burn. So they're actively trying to make the city go under, but they obviously can't just reveal themselves because nobody will listen to what they have to say. You constantly make these offers of playing cards to say, you know what, I think we should get rid of those that security risk in that city. Yeah, well, you know what, I'm countering this offer, and I think we should get rid of the power outages we have in that one. This will help us because of this. And you're trying to argue why your offer is worth doing. But of course, if you win the offer, you get potentially some capital, but you also get to take a nice little asset card that gives you a special ability that no one else has. It's really cool, can be quite cutthroat because you are basically negotiating and potentially stabbing each other in the back regularly, but there's very little downtime in this. You're interested in every negotiation that goes on, not just the ones that you personally are in, but even the ones that other players are doing, because you want to know why they're making offers. You want to know, who is that person a rival to? Are they a rival to me? Should I watch them? Or can I ignore them? Are they potentially the traitor? Do I need to ignore everything they say in that respect? And also, if they do this, what's that going to mean for the rest of the city? Great game, very thematic negotiation experience. My 59 staying in my collection. I do love negotiation games, and this won't be the last one you see on the list. So 59 is New Angeles. My number 58 is a game where you'll actually be getting a review from me very soon for the expansion that came out recently for this. This is in the line of bag building games, as I like to call them. There are games, spoiler alert, it's not all Leon's, but think of that type of mechanic where you put things in a bag and you draw them out, a bit like deck building, just with a bag of stuff rather than cards, and you add stuff to the bag and you'll make your bag, you'll thin out what's the bad stuff in your bag and you're just basically trying to make yourself more efficient. But I enjoy those types of games. I said Orleans didn't make the list, but that's not to say I don't enjoy it. I just think, yeah, it's another one of those themes that I'm just like, dry Euro theme, not interested. This, on the other hand, takes the bag building aspect and introduces a racing element. Two unlikely things that should not go together. Bag building and racing. How on earth do you do that? Well, you get a game called Automobiles, get AEG to publish it, and find a guy called David Short to design it for you. Because this one works so well. The stuff you're putting in your bag is various different colour cubes, and they will be a mixture of the gears for your car, so first to fifth gear, and these represent your speed. You also have different colour cubes based on 6 randomly sorted cards coming from a pool of different cards that represent anything from pit crews to suspension to diesel engines to hybrid engines to gearboxes, all sorts of different cool things that your car would normally have. And you pull out these cubes and use them in order to race around the track. And it can be quick, it can be long, it depends how many laps you do and how many players. You have to get the balance just right. But typically 3 to 4 players, no more than 3 laps, 2 laps if you're going to have 5 players, but yeah, I'd stay away from 5 players. But yeah, 2 to 4 players, I still enjoy this, I keep it about 3 laps. And it's just, there's a good amount of variety here because those cards will change how the game plays, and there's predetermined sets. Do you want a game where you're constantly getting those horrible wear cubes in your bag, the brown like dead cubes, because your car's falling to bits really quickly? Or do you want one where you've got so much money you can blow up on all the fancy stuff and just go zooming around the track? Lots of different ways you can do it. I will be getting a video review of the Racing Season expansion out as soon as I can. It has taken a while to get it reviewed amongst other things, but, mini spoiler alert, it's a good expansion, but this adds even more cards, adds more tracks. This one is ripe for expansion because all you got to do is just, like I say, more cards, more tracks. There you go. That's all you need, and you could expand this as long as you like. So I really get a kick out of this one. Probably one of my, not my all-time, but certainly one of my favourite racing games out there, and just a cool, innovative way of using bag building. Automobiles. Before I get into my 57, few little stats about the other ones, because I forgot to mention those earlier. Obviously Predator was a new entry to the list, and so was the one New Angeles. Automobiles climbed 4 places actually, so it's remained fairly steady. Well, this one has, we've got to break the chain slightly. It has dropped, but only 3 places, so it's not exactly a big deal. It's remained steady since last year, and it's a repeat contender on the list. Most people, when they think push your luck, they think Ink and Gold. Fair enough. Ink and Gold is a classic push your luck game, so simple, so easy to teach, and works for what it is. But I've gone bored with it. I don't need that anymore, because I have instead Celestia. Celestia is a reprint of an old game called Cloud 9, and ever since I saw the Dice Tower play Cloud 9 live, I wanted this game as soon as I heard about it. I knew Cloud 9 was out of print, but I heard this one was basically the same game, and I just like, yes, must have it. So this was one of the first things I grabbed at Essen last year, actually, I think, in fact. Or was it the year before? I don't know, one of the Essens. I lose track. But Celestia is a great push-your-luck / bluffing game, because you are all in an airship and you're flying off to distant lands to get the best treasure cards. Higher value, you get to 50 points, and that's the end of the game. But the cool thing is that you take it in turns to be the captain, and the captain rolls some dice with various symbols of like lightning and cloud and pirates. And they have to play cards in their hand in order to, drive on to the next bit, and so the next captain can take over. But before they announce whether they can do it or not, everybody in turn has a chance to stay in the ship or jump out. And so you've got this added bluffing element of, you as the captain know whether you're going to crash with the ship, because you can't jump out, you have to go down with the ship if you're going to crash, or whether you're going to carry on. So you want to psych people out at the best time. It's like, I know we're going to go further, but, I want to make them feel uneasy. I don't want them to stay in the ship. We're going to crash like crazy. I want you all to stay in the ship, because if you jump out, you get points, and you don't want that. That added bluffing element elevates the original, any kind of push-your-luck game, you add the bluffing in it and it just elevates this to a whole new level. Add to the fact that the artwork is lovely, it is gorgeous, and you get this cool airship piece that you assemble with some, pawns that you put in. I've got the updated pawns, I forget what they call, but, they're fancy-looking meeples, basically. And, yeah, I really love it. And ignore the police siren. But love it. You're done and dusted within 30 minutes, maybe 45 tops, plays up to 6 players, so you've got something cool to play with that infamous 5, which is always a nightmare to find players for. I really like it, I get a kick. It's a great gateway game as well, easy to teach, and the little mini expansion I got adds more to the fray. So, my number 57, Celestia. My number 56 is new to the list this year because it just missed last time. I own the game, but I didn't get a chance to play it often enough before I did the top 100, and so, let's be fair, as you'll find with a couple other games that you might expect to be on this list but aren't, if I haven't played the game enough, it can't go on this list because I haven't played it enough times to come up with a decent opinion of it. Well, this one, after I did the top 100, I got some more plays of it. I also bought both expansions. I also pimped it up with an insert. It's a really cool Euro game, and one that I didn't think I would like because, thematically, it's relatively dry, but it looks cool and it just is very elegant in how it flows. And I'm talking about Keyflour. Yeah, would you think I would like a game like this? Bidding with meeples and, building, collecting resources, I like that, but, auction bidding with meeples, you'd think I'd go, why would I want this? But there's something about it. I honestly can't really put my, nail on what it is. But it's very elegant. The rules are quite straightforward. In fact, the hardest part of this game is actually the setup, because you've got to be careful with what you set up and when. And once you've got that done, the rest of it flows really smoothly. You just do there's a very cutthroat element to bidding on the various tiles you can have with your different colour meeples. I like the fact that you have the different colour meeples as kind of like your resource, and you're bidding with them, but you also need to have some available to do actions. So you've got that dual purpose thing. I think that's maybe what I like. It's kind of like having multi-use cards. You're just having multi-use meeples. And on top of just collecting a bunch of tiles, You build a map a la Carcassonne style in front of you. And you can go to other people's areas and use their actions. They can come to you. But if you do that, you collect their meeples and you have to give your meeples away. So there's quite a few things to juggle around. But you can have varied maps. People can go for different paths to victory. There's definitely the element of, oh, I'm going to bid on this one. Oh, I'm going to outbid you on that. It's like, fine, I'm going to go over here. And then you tick off someone else because you've just outbidded them. And it's constantly back and forth until somebody is eventually like going, right, that's it, I'm passing. I don't know, it just seems to look good. It looks very striking on the table. We're not talking the best artwork ever, but it looks pleasant. I don't know, it's not light enough to be called Zen, but I don't know, it makes you think, but I think I just like the fact that all the action tiles and the meeples have got multiple uses. I like how elegant it flows once you get the initial setup rules down, and I like the way it looks, building a little map in front of you. Maybe that's half the reason, because I do like games where you build this map in front of you and you watch your village or your civilization progress. It's so weird why I get a kick out of this, but whenever someone suggests it hits the table, whether I've done it or whether other people have, it's always one that I enjoy, and that's base game alone. I've got expansions in here, and I think I've only played the expansion, I think I've played the Merchants a couple of times, I've only played the Farmers once, and that was enjoyable as well. But base game alone, I'll still play it. So, props to this one. A unexpected entry into my top 100, Keyflour. My number 55 has climbed. Actually, this is one of the biggest climbers on this list. I mean, there's a few that have done it bigger, but this is one of the larger ones, and it's climbed a whole 16 places since last year, and I'm not entirely certain why, because I would have thought it would more remain steady, but I think with more expansions that have come out for it, I've been getting a kick out of the variety. The solo mode is actually quite enjoyable in this one when you try to beat the game, and you get that feeling of civilization building in a kind of lighter fashion. There's the predecessor to this called 51st State, but that's okay, but that one feels a lot more mechanical. I just don't get that theme element out of it. Perhaps I just like the artwork in this better, but I give props instead to Imperial Settlers, and I think it's just gotten better as more civilizations have come out, because you start off with a few basic ones, but now you've got Aztecs, you've got the Atlanteans, and was there another one? There was Aztecs, there was Atlanteans. I can't help but think if there was another one. In fact, let me just check, shall we? See if I can find them. Yes, we've got Atlanteans, we've got Aztecs, we've obviously got the basic ones. I guess maybe that's it for the time being. But I mean, there's more races that they can put in, and it's a solid civilization tableau building game. All the races feel very different in how they play and what sort of buildings you go for. As you add in the expansions, you've got so much more variety, not only in your special buildings, but also the communal deck, where you can basically take all sorts of different buildings for your place, and you'll never see all the cards, you'll never build everything, but you'll get a different game every time you play. And like I said, the solo mode is pretty good in this as well. You're basically just fighting against an AI player, and you get to see all the buildings again and build something different every game. And that's always something I get a kick out of. Watching something that you own, that you can build, that is different from other people. That sense of progression. And it's handled very well with Imperial Settlers. Lots of races, and I don't think this one's going to die out anytime soon. I think Inacity's probably going to still pump out the occasional race from time to time. See whether one comes out at Essen this year. I wouldn't be surprised, actually, because I think there tends to be a theme of that. If there is, I'll be getting it, because this one is a solid number 55 in my top 100 Imperial Settlers. My number 54 is another new entry to this list. Yes, I'm trying not to say debut too much. I wonder why. And this one, even though the game goes quite long, and this is with house rules, I'll get onto that later, but this one does go a bit long for what it is. It's a fairly light to mid-weight Euro and does take a while. But the amount of laughs that I get from this when I introduce the house rules that I found out on the Dice Tower live marathon when they played this game using the same house rules, elevated this like crazy. I searched long and hard to get it played, and I found some people who were able to show me it from Days of Wonder, and then I picked up the reprint from Tasty Minstrel Games, and that is the Striking Colosseum. Now, yes, there's the argument of whether you prefer the Days of Wonder version or this one. The artwork in here is a lot more cartoony than the other one. I think it suits it. It's a fairly light to mid, it's a light-hearted Euro, to put it another way. But whichever one you prefer, Colosseum is still an excellent game. Now, I mentioned house rules. Firstly, trading freeform. Ignore the turn order rubbish. You just trade when you can trade. Do it like Catan, and it will work nicely. Not only then, it also speeds up the game a bit. But even though this extra house rule delays the game a fair bit, you get so much laughter from it. What you do is you normally are putting on shows for Caesar, and you build up your arena, you choose a show, and you collect these asset tokens like lions and gladiators and ships and musicians, etc., and you put on the show. Now, you could play this like a dry Euro game and simply go, I cash in these tokens and I put on this show. 30 points. And you could be super boring. Nope, what you want to do is you want to use the house rule that you have to stipulate what your show is about. It has no mechanical sense to the game whatsoever, in the sense that it doesn't matter if you do it badly or not. But hearing people get into the theme, hearing them roleplay their characters, hearing them go into such weird details about what they put on in their show. And I've seen like a parade of lions where they were missing lions. I've seen people go into extreme detail about voluptuous trees. I've had all sorts of weird and wonderful plays done. Shrubbery seemed to be a thing, it seems, with the last game I played. Everything was always about shrubberies and pottery. That seemed to be what the crowd wanted. But you get so much laughter from it, and people get into that, they get into the theme, and it makes this a lot more enjoyable. I don't know if it would hit my top 100 if you just played it as the rulebook suggests, and as a dry game. You want to be thematic, you want to introduce that house rule about saying what shows you put on, because it adds to the fun factor. And the freeform trading makes it mechanically work well as well. I suggest maybe you might want to just moderate it to a point, say okay, right, let's move it forward, because the game can take a while. That is one flaw of the game, and that's why it doesn't go any higher. But I still get a kick. In fact, at HandyCon the other weekend, I played a long game of this. I showed 3 new players. And oh my god, friends of mine were playing Feast for Odin next door, and even they were falling out of their chairs laughing at some of the stuff we were coming up with for plays. Such a good laugh. If you can find the right group to play it with, definitely worth trying. That is Colosseum. Now we're going to get onto a string of gateway games. Yes, if you have not heard of any of these 3 games, then you're definitely new to gaming, because if you've been in the gaming hobby for as long as I have, you definitely have heard of these games. And probably your reason for getting into the hobby is because of at least one of these 3 games alone. And I would probably hazard a guess that this one, my number 53, is your main reason for getting in. And it doesn't matter which map you get, they're all good. The evergreen Ticket to Ride. Doesn't matter if it's USA, Europe, Germany, whatever. Ticket to Ride is a solid evergreen staple game. Yes, okay, why is it not much higher on the list? Well, I do enjoy it. The maps have made it fresh, the new tweaks are good. Mini spoiler alert, this is a good one too, but you'll have to find out when I do the official review for this soon. Give me some time, there's a lot of reviews. And, it's so simple. You can teach this in 5 minutes. Doesn't matter who's playing it. You might have never seen a board game since the 1980s, and you can still play this without any problem and still do reasonably well. And certainly after the first game, you'll be like, oh, I get it now. Right, let's play again. And you could happily play this again, because with 2 free players, you'll be playing this super fast. 4 or 5 will take a little bit longer, but I don't tend to play it with the max number of players. But a lot of these can play 5 players, and it's not easy to find a game that works fairly well with 5 players. The Ticket to Rides are a good opportunity. Of course, different expansions and different base sets have different varying number of players. They usually range from 2 to 4, 2 to 5. There's a couple that are only max 3. Pretty much whatever country you like in the world and whatever player count you have, you can probably find a Ticket to Ride to suit your needs. So whichever one you want to pick, I certainly recommend that if you're new to gaming, find somebody who has Ticket to Ride. I still enjoy teaching it. I still enjoy just playing it. It's a great evergreen. Ticket to Ride, number 53. My number 52 has literally climbed a single place on this top 100. I'm going to try and speed this up a little bit slightly because I'm noticing two battery lights are starting to die a little bit, so hopefully you can still see me fine. You know, if I'm a little dark, well, at least you don't have to see this face in too much detail. But this one, again, this for a lot of people is the staple gateway Euro game. You know, I already mentioned Carcassonne earlier, and it would just be a crime not to put this on the top 100 because I still enjoy this, whether I'm teaching it to new gamers or whether more often I'm actually just playing it with gamers and introducing some expansions to make it a bit heavier than what the the original version is. But never with 5 or 6 players. No, those expansions they're horrible. But certainly in this case, Catan, I like using the various expansions, like this one is my favourite, Seafarers. This just adds some easy elements to the game but makes it really entertaining. Traders and Barbarians adds the fishing and a few other cool little twists. I can take Explorers or Pirates, and I think it's Explorers and Pirates, I will leave it, I can take either or. It changes the game somewhat, but I like it. Cities and Knights, it's alright, but it makes the game a bit too long for what it is, although that's not saying something because I have a friend of mine who designs like custom scenarios for games where he like takes a basic simple game and turns it into a 4-hour slugfest, and he's done one for this called Barons of Catan. It's I've played it, good fun, but yeah, you better like Catan if you're going to play it for that long. Anyway, getting off track. Catan is still a staple gateway game and still one I enjoy playing. I will play the base version. I'm fine with just playing base, but I think the Seafarers expansion, or any of the expansions, kicks it up that notch. And I still just like a nice little light Euro where you just roll a die, collect some resources. But no other game has managed to nail trading as well as this does. Think about it. Why is this still a staple gateway game in people's minds? Why is it never toppled? Yeah, people will go out there and say, well, I'm bored with Catan, or it's like, for some reason it's cool to hate on Catan, I don't know. But think about it. What other game out there do you know of, and I'll be interested if you can think of any, do you think matches the ease and simplicity and free-flowing nature of the trading in this one? There's a reason in that Colosseum pick a minute ago that I said you should do the trading like Catan, because it's so simple, everybody can understand it, and it's free-flowing, and it's just done so easily, and yet it's a critical part of the game. It's actually one of the reasons why people get such a kick out of this one, because of the trading. Many games I've tried, and they've not succeeded, but it's so hard to get that trading just right in a group game, and this one does it in spades. Different scenarios will change how it plays. There's a great amount of variety here if you're just willing to expand it a little further than the base game, which is why it still remains halfway up my top 100. Missing out, but, it's still halfway in my top 100. Come on, I like it, and hopefully so do you. And finally, my 51. I'm really sad about this one. I really am. Because it's climbed. I think this is actually the biggest climber on the list. Skim down. No, there is actually one. Yeah, one. One game has climbed more places than this one. But this is the second highest climber on the list. And it just missed out on the top 50. Such a shame. But 26 places this has risen. It has really gone up for me lately, just because I've played it more, but mostly because we've now got a brand spanking new reprinted edition of the game, which adds more roles, ups the component quality, brings the artwork to a gorgeous sublime level. When it comes to Fantasy Flight, they know how to do reprints. And this isn't, well, okay, technically it's Wind Rider, but they're pretty much Fantasy Flight. And that is Citadels! Citadels! As you can hear from Eric somewhere in the distance. Now, he may hate it. I love it, though. Citadels has, since this reprint, really gone up because the new roles are cool, they're interesting, but now you have loads of characters that you can pick from, so the variety is just off the scale. And the artwork in this, I mean, you probably can't see as well from here, but yeah, check out some of the cards. They look so gorgeous now. The rolls are now on tarot-sized cards, so they're big and easy to hold. The rules have been a bit more streamlined, like they introduced that rule that you only go up to 7 districts instead of 8 as a key rule. But there's other variants that you can try, and it works well from the whole. Well, maybe not all. Yeah, it says 2 to 8 players. I usually wouldn't play this above 5 players, but you could always just say go to less districts, and it will work just fine. You've got predetermined sets, like with automobiles, where you can decide, you know what, I want a character set that's nice and friendly for the new players. Or I want the base 8. Now I want something a bit more tricksy. Now you know what, I want characters that just hurt and wail on each other, so I'm going to pick these lot. You can do what you like, but the role selection in this is nice and simple. Drafting is always good fun, and I like how you're picking the roles not only to choose what ability you need, but also to think about who's picked up the assassin, and who's he going to kill? Where's the thief? I've got a lot of money in front of me. The thief's after me, and he's not in this set of cards. Someone's picked the thief. Who does the thief think I'm going to pick? That element of bluffing, psyching people out, getting into people's heads. Love it. This one, it's just, it's a staple. I wish it could be higher on the list, but, you know, there's a lot of great games out there, and, you know, it's been hitting the table quite a lot lately, which is probably some of the reason why it's certainly gone up 26 odd places. But it's easy to get to the table. You know, not the biggest box in the world. People look at it and go, ooh, you know, that looks nice. I'd like to play. And Citadel's actually, I suppose, holds a bit of a nostalgic connection in my heart, because this was possibly one of the first modern board games I ever played. Ignore Magic, ignore RPGs and Warhammer and that, but in terms of a modern board game that made me think, is there a bit more to board gaming these days? This was it. I remember having a small box version at university, and I didn't do much else with board games at the time, but certainly I played Citadels and owned a copy. So when this one came out, it was sad to let go of that one. You know, I'd had it for a long time, but as well, no harm in just having a nice little glossy finish to it. So 51, narrowly missing on the top 50 of my list, but could deservedly be in there. The wonderful Citadels. So that's another chunk of 10 for my top 100. You know, you'll have to wait and see what games could have possibly surpass these in order to make the top half of my favourite games of all time. But for now, I'll leave you to remember that all of these are just only games, and I will see you on the next batch of 10 of my top 100 games. See you soon, guys.